Welcome back to Taking Back. I am super excited about this video. I know I say that in like almost every video, but this one is near and dear to my heart because I have been through this. I have been through all of these videos that I'm telling you, like from real life experiences, but this one hits differently, you know? Have you ever had that feeling? So what is today's video? Today's video is about trauma bonding. So what is trauma bonding and how does it work? Trauma bonding is the attachment that the abuser and the victim have. So in my experience, there was a man much older than me at the time. I think I was about, when this all started, I think I was about 6 years old, and he was in his 20s. And he started to have a very close liking with me. And at the time, the family that I was in, always having kids from foster care in and out, not having a very stable male role model in my life, I didn't know any better, and I got quickly attached to him as well. I didn't know any better. And now that I think back to it, I was like, this is disgusting. Like, that's so gross. But, you know, hindsight 2020. There is no real way to say, oh, that's when the trauma bonding started, because it kind of just evolves. So trauma bonding, it's a cycle, and the cycle is, I'm gonna be sweet and nice to you and caring, and I'm gonna buy you all these things, and I'm gonna tell you I love you and you mean the world to me, and I'm gonna marry you when you're 18, and blah 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 blah. And then when the abuser feels like, I'm done with this victim, they start to abuse that victim. And then once the victim start catching on, like, something's not right, I'm not okay with this, I'm not comfortable with this situation, I am in middle school, dude, you're past high school, like, this isn't okay, then they're like, oh wait, but no, like, I'm gonna buy you this, I'm gonna buy you this, I'm gonna tell you I love you and you mean the world to me, and just that cycle just repeats, and it's disgusting. But so when the victim is feeling safe and the abuser knows that, okay, you're back with me, I'm gonna start abusing you again. And it's that vicious cycle. So when the victim knows, oh, this isn't okay again, oh, I'm gonna buy you all this love and I'm gonna buy you all these things, oh yeah, I love you again, and it's just that disgusting vicious cycle. And then when the victim is at that part where they're like, hey, dude or girl, whatever, to the victim, to the abuser, like, this isn't okay, this isn't healthy, the abuser goes, well, I buy all this stuff for you, I do all these things for you, I'm there for you when no one isn't. And then that makes the victim go, oh yeah, I don't have anybody else, and gets trapped back into that cycle. People who are most likely to fall in these traps are people who have low self-esteem or are codependent. So I'm more than positive I was both. I was 6 years old, I didn't know any better. And he loved me, and I thought I was the bee's knees because I would go to school and I'd be like, I'm in middle school and I have a man who wants to marry me. That's right. Like, ew, gross. Vomit. So what are the stages of trauma bonding? So I know I said that trauma bonding is hard to tell when it starts and when it stops, but there are stages to it. So there's idealization stage, where the victim looks at the abuser and was like, oh my god, you're amazing, you're buying me all this stuff, you're paying me attention when my parents aren't even realizing me, like, oh my gosh, like you're an amazing, and pretty much putting that abuser up on a pedestal. The devaluation stage is pretty much the opposite. The abuser will knock down the victim. So they're both up here on plateaus, and the abuser is just knocking down the victim, like, oh, you're not worth it. Like, I am the only person who will pay attention to you. So, and then that makes the victim say, oh, you are the only person who pays attention to me, so I'm going to give you more attention. And that just raises the plateau of the abuser even higher. The realization, the rationalizing phase is when the victim starts to see behind the mask, behind the love, but still is, oh, I thought this guy like actually loved me. Like the victim starts to play scenarios in their head about, oh, well, the reason why he did this is because of this. The reason why he did this was because of this. Like they rationalize for the abuser because they thought the abuser loved them and wanted to be with them forever. The bonding stage. This is a stage where there's something between you guys, and that something is abuse. That no one else has, so therefore you think it's special because you don't see it as abuse. You see it as someone who's taking care of you and wants to be there for you. And then there's the fear stage, and the fear stage comes after all of these stages, and the victim finally realizing, okay, this is enough. This is not okay. You could go to jail for this, dude. I don't want to marry you when I'm 18. I'm starting to find other interests that I want to try out, but I can't because I am already supposed to marry you when I'm 18. But this isn't okay. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then it's the fear of the abuse starting again, because the abuser is wanting to keep you. And it's disgusting. I don't know how many times I've said that in this video. Like, comment down below how many times I've said disgusting. When did I realize that I was going through trauma bonding and that I had trauma bonding? I started realizing it when I went to therapy. I had gone to therapy, I think, for like a little over a year at this point, and I would say things about this guy who was always there for me and loved me, and he bought me a big bag or big box of like those Cheeto balls every week, and he was just like, he was there for me and everything. And my therapist was actually like, would talk about it, and I'd be like, but wait, no, that's not actually really how it went. And I was defending him. And it's realizing, because every time that we would talk about him, I would be like, oh, but wait, no, he didn't mean that. And then I would go to sleep the next day or whatever, and I would have dreams about him, and I would wake up missing him. Like, what? Ew. I would want, like, I don't know how many times I have told my partner, like, I want to reach out to him. Like, I just want to see what's going on. No. Like, I feel like that's just me falling back into his trap. And that's what he wants. But it's really hard to get out of that cycle. But once you're out of that cycle, there is nothing stopping you. And when you have a dream about your abuser, you wake up and you go, ew, that was disgusting. And then that's it. That's all you think. because you have no connection with them anymore. You don't want to have that connection with them anymore. So when I realized that this isn't right, this isn't okay, we were at a family camping trip. Now, mind you, my mom had no idea what was going on. No idea, which I don't know how she didn't know. I felt like it was kind of obvious, but she had no idea what was going on. And we went to a camping trip, and everybody except me and this guy, they all went swimming. I didn't want to go swimming. And so my mom left me with him, and I was terrified. I had been, just bad things had happened between me and him. And I remember being in the tent, the tent we were sleeping in, and curled up, and he came in and he was trying to cuddle me, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And I feel like at that stage I was like 12. I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to. I kept saying that. I remember I kept saying that in my head, and he's like, oh, you don't mean that. You don't mean that. You'll change your mind. It's okay. You don't mean that. And I didn't know how to get it through his head that, no, bro, I'm done. Like, I am not okay with this. This is not okay. I am 12 years old, and I know that this isn't okay. You should know that this isn't okay. And every summer after that, because he went back to Colorado while we lived in Ohio, and every summer after that, he would remind me of the promises that we made to each other way back when this all started. Like, oh, remember when as soon as you turn 18, I'm gonna marry you? Like, who does that to a kid? Like, disgusting. So why didn't I say anything? Because I lived in a house with guys. Like, I lived in a house with boys. I had 5 brothers, and then my mom randomly brought home with 3 different guys. The guy that I'm talking about in the story, a guy who turned out to be really cool and is actually a part of the family now, and another douchebag. And she just brought home people because she had a big heart, so she did foster care and everything, and it was always a revolving door in my house. So I felt like I really wanted someone to connect to, and he was there when no one else wasn't. So how did I break the cycle? Emotionally, I missed him. I didn't want him back. Like, I knew psychologically that what we had was bad. It was not okay. But emotionally, I missed him. I wanted that feeling of being important back, and he gave me that feeling. But I was in therapy, and I can't tell you when it started, but I finally realized, like, this isn't okay. Like, my therapist told me this was a trauma bond, and I was like, that's disgusting. Like, how do I make this stop? And she said that it was a process, and every time that I thought about him, or every time that I wanted to go back to him, to open up and talk to my other partners. And that was the hardest thing for me to do, because no one wants to hear about your other love lives. Like, and I knew it was disgusting, so I didn't want to talk about it. But it eventually really did help me. I talked about all the bad stuff that he did. I talked about the good times that we had, because even though this guy was disgusting, we did have good times. He did do fun stuff with me, and that was really hard to accept in all of this. So I hope this was a informative video. I feel like it's a pretty long video this week, but I just felt very close to this. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!